Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a literal masterclass in scale. We're going to look really closely at how a tiny, totally unassuming burger joint out in California managed to bypass the usual limits of a localized business and completely transform into the absolute largest fast food chain on the planet. Through this journey together, we're going to break down the exact systems, the strategic decisions, and the crazy innovations that made this unprecedented scalability possible.
It really all boils down to one massive question, doesn't it? How exactly did a single burger stand conquer the world? I mean, think about it for a second. Thousands of restaurants open up every single year. Most of them stay small, they stay local, or honestly, they eventually close their doors. Yet this one specific establishment didn't just survive, it became a global empire. So what was the secret ingredient? Was it literally just the food, or was it something deeply structural about how the business itself was built? Well, let's find out. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the speedy system revolution, and how they went about fixing the traditional restaurant.
To really grasp how they pulled this off, we kind of have to transport ourselves back to the 1940s. The landscape of traditional restaurants back then was, well, notoriously slow and pretty expensive. You'd sit down in your car, you'd wait forever for a car hop, and the kitchen basically just moved at its own sluggish pace. Enter Richard and Maurice McDonald. They looked at that incredibly inefficient model and completely rejected it. Their new vision? Lightning-fast service and rock-bottom prices. But they realized right away that to actually achieve this, they couldn't just yell at their cooks to work faster, right? They had to fundamentally reinvent how a commercial kitchen actually operated.
So, how did they execute this? Well, they created what they called the speedy service system. First up, they ruthlessly stripped their menu down to just the absolute bare essentials. We're talking burgers, fries, and drinks, so they could focus entirely on perfection. Second, and this is the real game changer, they literally brought Henry Ford's factory assembly line directly into the commercial kitchen. One person grills, the next person dresses the burger, the next person wraps it. This radical efficiency became their ultimate foundation. It allowed them to deliver massive volume and sell a burger for just 15 cents. That was a fraction of the traditional cost. They didn't just build a kitchen, you guys, they engineered a high-speed machine.
Now, a great system still needs a spark if it's going to go global. That brings us to Section 2, the Ray Kroc takeover. The catalyst meets the blueprint.
Picture this. Ray Kroc was a 52-year-old traveling salesman, basically hawking milkshake machines all across the country. When he heard about this one restaurant in California that was running 8 of his machines nonstop, he knew he had to see it for himself. And when he arrived, it was an absolute revelation. He immediately recognized the immense, scalable potential of this highly efficient model. He didn't just see a really great local burger stand, he saw a money-printing blueprint that could be cloned everywhere. He knew in that exact instant he absolutely had to join forces with the company. And Kroc's ultimate weapon for this massive expansion? Franchising. He realized pretty quickly that he didn't actually need the massive capital required to personally build and own every single new restaurant. By allowing third parties to operate under the brand, and, this is crucial, forcing them to use those highly guarded, ultra-efficient systems, he could multiply the brand's footprint practically overnight. Independent operators took on the local financial risk, while the overarching system rapidly colonized the entire country. But, bringing two radically different mindsets together rarely goes smoothly. It became a classic clash of visions. On one side, you've got Ray Kroc pushing relentlessly for massive, nationwide expansion. On the other side, you have the McDonald brothers. They deeply valued a highly controlled, localized operation because they wanted to maintain their standard of absolute perfection. It was just this fundamental ideological friction between aggressive, fast-paced scaling and very protective perfectionism. Ultimately, Ray Kroc ended up gaining full control of the company. And this was a monumental turning point in business history. Taking the reins meant Kroc was now shouldering the massive financial risks, and he had to navigate all the controversies that inherently come with such aggressive, unchecked expansion. But taking over also completely cleared the path for him to execute his sprawling global vision without any internal restraint. Moving right along to Section 3, Rise of the Empire, Scaling the Machine. Because to scale a brand to unprecedented heights, you literally have to innovate constantly. Look at how they evolved over time to capture more and more of the market. In the first era, they introduced the Big Mac, which created a signature, craveable identity nationwide. Then in the next era, they adapted to America's booming car culture with the drive-thru. Think about that. They massively increased their customer volume without ever needing to build a larger dining room.
And then the Happy Meal came along and captured a completely new demographic, children and families. Piece by piece, they weren't just building a menu anymore. They were engineering an undeniable cultural phenomenon, which perfectly sets up Section 4, Global Menu Adaptation, Conquering the World. Now, taking a purely American blueprint global is a pretty monumental task, but they succeeded by acting like, well, global chameleons. They kept their core operational blueprint, those standardized kitchens and that relentless efficiency, but they completely localized the actual food products to respect different countries and cultures. The genius is really in that adaptability. They realized super early on that while speed and efficiency are universally desired, taste is always local. And that cultural respect, that's what truly unlocked the rest of the globe for that. But of course, no empire stands unchallenged forever, right? Here's Section 5, Surviving the Modern Era. Adapt or die. To survive the modern era, they had to aggressively reinvent themselves to handle entirely new kinds of market pressures. When they faced really intense scrutiny regarding health and nutrition, they modified their ingredients and started offering lighter choices. When fast food competition just absolutely exploded, they diversified the menu to keep consumers hooked. And to cater to a 21st century audience, they completely overhauled their tech stack, introducing things like ordering kiosks and seamless mobile apps. They didn't stubbornly cling to a 1950s blueprint, they evolved the machine so it would stay relevant. So, we've gone on quite the epic journey today, from a hyper-efficient kitchen in one single California restaurant to a franchise blueprint, all the way to a globally adapted, tech-driven empire. So, what is the ultimate lesson here for your own work? It really forces us to ask, are we just trying to run faster every day, or are we fundamentally rethinking our systems to build something that can truly scale? Thank you so much for exploring this blueprint with me today on The Explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I will see you next time.